Hello everyone, I hope you're enjoying the Explore this year. And as you know, the theme this year is where code meets culture. So in this session, we will be creating a FastAPI Lebanese menu application in which we will be entering certain URLs with specific endpoints in which our code will be returning the dishes in our menu. Each dish would have a name, a description, and an origin. I will start this session with a small FastAPI application in which it will return a welcome message. So first of all, we need to install FastAPI framework. So we open our terminal, we click view and open terminal. So we need to run this command, which is pip install FastAPI UVcorn. UVcorn would be the server that will run our application. So as you can see, I already satisfied it. So it says here requirement is already satisfied. So now I'm just gonna start by importing FastAPI. So I'm just gonna say, so from FastAPI import FastAPI. I forgot the space here. So now we will create an app that would use a FastAPI. So I'm just gonna name it app FastAPI. Now, as we know, FastAPI uses the HTTP methods, which are get, post, put, and delete. So we know get is used to retrieve the information, post is used to edit the information, put is used to edit the information, post is used to create new information, and delete is used to delete any information that you want to get rid of. In this session, we'll be only using the get method. So we will be initializing an app that would return a welcoming message. So we're gonna use this decorator at app.get, and then here we're gonna specify our path. As you know, FastAPI is based on endpoints and routes. Here, this would be our route. So once this URL that finishes with a dash is entered, we will be calling a root function in which it will return our welcome message. So I'm just gonna name it root, and we're gonna return hello Explore. You might ask, why did I put hello Explore inside these curly brackets? So as we know, FastAPI converts Python dictionary into JSON, which is the format that API use to talk to apps and websites. So as we said, this would be our root path. Now let's run this application. So I'm just gonna save it, Control S on your keyboard. We're gonna open our terminal, and then we're gonna change the directory. So we're gonna copy the path of the file in which we're working, and then we're gonna cd, which means change directory, and then we're just gonna copy the path. So I'm just gonna click again, copy, and paste it here. Make sure to remove, this is my file, remove the file from my path, and then click enter. This is a very necessary step in order for your app to run. Now, in order to run this application, I'm just gonna write this command, which is UVcorn, which is the server that is running our application, main, which is the name of our file, make sure to name it main, 2.app space 2 dashes and then reload. This reload means that the server will rerun our app each time a change is made in our code. So we need to change our code, save it, and the app will be always running. So we don't need to write this command again. So I'm just gonna click enter, and as you can see, here is our URL. So I'm just gonna control click on it. And then as you can see, here we can click this pretty print button, which would give us a prettier output of a prettier format of our output. So it says hello text bar, which means our app is running and functioning normally. So in this session, the aim is to create. So I'm just gonna start by initializing a list called dishes, which will include all of the dishes inside our menu. Now this menu will be a small menu. We just include two dishes, which are tabbouleh and fattoush. Now I'm just gonna use curly brackets to separate the dishes. As we said, each dish would have a name, which is tabbouleh. Make sure to separate by commas. Description. And an origin. Now I'm just gonna copy and paste in order to save time. So curly brackets again, and then I'll just copy these. So our second dish will be fattoush, which is a salad made with now we need to define a new route that in this route we will call a function in which it will return this list. So I will also use the get method. So app.get, and then here my path will be more specific this time. I'm just gonna enter dishes. So once this URL that ends with this dishes is entered by the user, this function, which is get dishes, will be called, and it returns the dishes, this dish menu. So return dishes. Okay, now I'm just gonna save, and then I'm just gonna wait for my app to complete and then to store it, and then I'm just gonna add this dishes and point here, and then as you can see, it's perfectly printing our menu. So now let's say I have hundreds of items inside my menu and I want to get a specific dish, the information about a specific dish. I don't want to have to look through all of the items inside my menu. I want to get the specific information about this specific dish. So I'm just gonna need to enter a more specific endpoint in order to retrieve the information. So app.get, because I'm also going to be using the get method, so because I'm just retrieving info, my route would be inside here. So dishes slash. Now since I don't know what my user would enter, I'm just gonna initialize a variable here, and then I'm gonna call it user dish, which means the dish that will be inputted by the user dish. Now once a URL in this format is entered, I'm just gonna define a new function which is get specific dish, which will take as an input argument this user dish. I'm just gonna copy paste it. And we need to specify to FastAPI that it is a string, so it validates our data and makes sure everything is being formatted correctly. So in order to find this specific dish that was entered by the user, I'm gonna need to run a for loop inside of my list and then compare the dish name that was entered by the user to the dish name that I have inside of my list. So I'm just gonna run a for loop for dish and dishes, which is my list. If dish name, this means that the name of the dish that's inside of my list matches equal the user dish that was entered. I'm just going to return the dish information about this one specifically. Now, in order to save some capitalization issues and spelling mistakes, I'm just gonna use the slower function by Python on both sides. So it makes all of the letters inside of my list and the letters that was entered by the user in lowercase, so we can have a better comparison and to run into unnecessarily errors. Now let's say the user entered a dish that was not in our list. We're gonna run this for loop, compare the user dish that was entered with the names of all the dishes inside of my list. And then if we didn't find a match, I'm just gonna return an error statement that says, sorry, I couldn't find the dish name that you entered. So we're just going to return again, text is inside our bracket. So it says error then I'm gonna say sorry, we couldn't find the dish that the user entered. Now, I want this return statement to be more specified. I want this return statement to include the dish name that was entered by the user. So I'm just gonna include a variable inside of my list. So as we know, in order to let that happen, I'm just gonna use an f string. So I'm just gonna put here f. Now we can use this variable inside of my string, which is user dish and our menu. So I'm just gonna save the code. As long as you see this white dot here, your code is not saved. So you need to click on Control S. So this code is saved now. Now, see on our app. Now I want to enter the URL in the same format that was in my code. So I'm just gonna say tabule, and then as we see, the specific information about tabule only is the return, even though my dish list includes more than tabule. Now let's say I want to say fattoush, but all capital, and even though all capital, since we're using the is lower math function, it would still run and return the fattoush description that we had inside of our code. Now let's test it on something that was not in our menu. Let's say hummus. And then here you see, sorry, we couldn't find hummus in our menu. Now, a very cool feature about FastAPI is that it can return interactive documentation of your code without extra setup. So in order to get it, I'm just gonna delete these, and then we're just gonna add docs. So as you can see, this is the interactive documentation. It's really cool, it's really nice, it's really neat. So here is the methods that were used by our application. This is the name of each function that we created inside of our code. They're identical, and this is the specific route that we specified inside of our code. So if you click here, click try it out and execute. So we're just running the root function, which returns the welcome statement. So this is our response. It shows the response body and the response header. So the response body says hello to explore, and the response header contains the content link, the content type, the date, the server. So now let's go to the get dishes function. Let's try it out. Just gonna try it out, execute, and as you can see, it returns everything that it's exactly like the output that we got whenever we weren't using the interactive documentation, whenever we entered this specific URL. So as you can see here, it gives the URL. Now, it returns the response body and the response header because HTTP requests usually have a response body and a response header. And now we can get this, we can try this one. And then here, just gonna click on try it out. And then we're gonna enter the dish name. So let's say Fatouche. And everything just runs exactly the same as before. Fatouche, here you can get everything. Let's try tabbouleh, all caps. So you know it's working the exact way as before. And let's try hummus. And then execute again. Each time you enter a new dish, you need to execute. And then here it says, sorry, you couldn't find hummus in our menu. So this is it. Thank you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this session.